Ladies and gentlemen, SideStrafe here, ringing in the new year with a look at the War Thunder Ground Forces closed beta test. And as many of you are aware, Gaijin has partially lifted the non-disclosure agreement, which does allow us to share videos and screenshots. However, there's only so much that we can actually discuss, so I'm going to mostly focus on the game's potential. And of course, keep in mind that this is early beta. Everything is subject to change. So let's get started with a few bullet points while you enjoy this lovely footage in the background. So let's go ahead and discuss visuals. That's one of my favorite things to talk about. The game engine itself, we know that it's very capable. War Thunder has hands down been one of the best looking free-to-play titles out there for some time. And it doesn't change when we talk about ground forces. Simply stunning tank models, very high poly count, lots of detail, so many things going on with the tools and components. Even has a moving antenna on some of these tanks, and even the tracks, they feel like metal tracks in comparison to certain other vehicle-based games where you feel like you're kind of rolling around in a piece of cardboard at times. This is a nice change. These things, combined with these high-resolution textures, feel like metal beasts of war, and that's what I like. On top of that, there's an actual real working physics engine here. You can see that the road wheels, the suspension, actually bounces up and down as you travel across the varied terrain in the way that it should. And while it might not be perfect at times and perhaps could use some tweaking, it's very, very close to the real deal. And it's just so nice to see. It makes driving these things a real treat, and I'm excited to see how some of the heavier tanks, such as the Tiger, travel along in this type of game. However, that's not all. Of course, mix that with the fact that they've got some brilliant sound effects here. They've sent out their sound engineers to record actual sounds from real-world tanks and cannons. So they've got all the sounds from the tracks, the engines, the gear shifts, the turret rotation. You can hear it. You can feel the weight of the tank. You can hear the creaks and the grinding of all of the components working together. You can feel like this thing has some actual weight to it. And I think that sound is a component often overlooked by many game developers. They just don't understand how important it is to immerse you in a world, and especially when it comes to vehicles. I've played a lot of games, even some realistic tank simulators, that haven't gotten this close to sound design, and this is just simply fantastic. I definitely recommend you check out Gaijin's little teaser video where they show you sending out their engineers and recording the real-world stuff. It's pretty cool. Moving on to performance, I can tell you that for me, at least, the game is running pretty well, and as you can see from the frame rate counter in the top left-hand corner, I'm able to maintain around 50 to 70 frames per second without VSync turned on, and I do have a lot of the settings maxed out. There's a few that I may have turned off that I don't feel are absolutely necessary. Of course, this is beta, and that means that things can improve over time. If you are curious about my system specifications, go ahead and hit the About section on my YouTube main channel page so that you can compare. So we've discussed aesthetics and a little bit of performance. What about the gameplay? And I'll tell you right off the bat, even before I played, I knew that I was going to be impressed by three things. One, the fact that there is an actual bullet drop mechanic. You fire your shell, it's gonna eventually fall towards the earth. So you're gonna have to elevate your main gun to get long distance shots on target. Okay, it's not a hit scan mechanic as you would find in a game like Call of Duty or even World of Tanks. On top of that, there are no hit points. These are tanks, and a well-placed shot to weak armor means that you're going to get a penetration, which could kill crew, damage the weapon, damage the engine, set something on fire, destroy the ammo rack, resulting in a beautiful explosion. All of these things are present. There's a very detailed damage model in place, and they explain this on their website. If you're interested in that, I'll have a link in the description below. And I think over time it's just going to get even better. So finally, and I think most importantly, the fact that this game doesn't have invisible tanks. I hope that they decide to keep it that way because it's just simple. We've been playing video games for so many years, And in all my life, I've never seen any type of game implement some system where tanks are invisible at a certain range, or people or anything becomes invisible at a certain range. It just doesn't make sense to me unless you're playing some sort of science fiction game where you have a cloaking device, or perhaps some sort of strategy game where there's a fog of war. It just really ends up frustrating you more than anything, especially if you're a brand new player and all of a sudden you're seeing a tracer round come out of nowhere. You're wondering what's going on. So the fact that they've chosen to just make a regular game here with tanks that are visible as long as your eye can actually see where they're at means that you're going to have to think a little bit more, that it's going to be about tactics and using the trees and the rocks and bunkers and buildings for actual cover. And you're going to have to play smarter and think about what you're doing and work better as a team. It's funny that a lot of people don't realize how much of an adverse effect the whole invisibility system had on World of Tanks. And I think that now people will get a taste of this and they'll never want to go back, much as I don't want to go back, to be honest, because this is how I grew up with games. You see a target with your eyes, they're there, you shoot at them, end of story. If they went out somewhere where they shouldn't have, then that was their problem and they need to deal with those repercussions. So anyways, I think you get the hint. I see great potential here, and this is only after playing arcade mode, okay? Because this is the only mode available to us within the beta currently. This isn't even realism mode or full real battle or whatever you want to call it. This is just the beginning of arcade mode, and some of these features that are in here right now are just to kind of help new players. You know, things could get even more hardcore with time, and I very much look forward to that. I mean, imagine if there is a full real mode eventually where you are inside of a tank and you do actually have real limited visibility. All of those things come to play naturally without having to add some sort of phony mechanic. And I think that's the whole thing about War Thunder, is that you're given choices. You have 3 modes to choose from depending on what mood you're in or what you just like to play with your friends. And I think a lot of developers don't provide choice, and that's always been one of my major complaints. Over the years, we lose features instead of getting them. So it's nice to see somebody, especially a free-to-play company, give you some variety for a change. And, you know, nobody's perfect. There's always going to be issues here and there, but hey, it's better than what you get from most titles that you pay a high premium for. So with all of that said, I think you can tell that I'm pretty hyped. It's been a good first impressions, even though I only got to play for about 4 hours. The beta testing schedule isn't 24/7. It only runs on certain days and nights of the week. But, you know, within that amount of time in an arcade mode, I did have a lot of fun. And I'm looking forward to playing a lot more and enjoying some of the other tanks that the game will eventually provide, especially from some of the other nations as well. So, what does this mean for the channel? Obviously, there hasn't been a lot of World of Tanks on the channel since, I think, even November, really. And while I apologize for that, it's mostly because there are certain things within that game that I just kind of get tired of. And I've mentioned some of those things today. War Thunder Ground Forces, for me, honestly feels like a replacement. I feel that this game has the potential to be far greater than World of Tanks, in my opinion. That means for me. It doesn't mean that that game is bad. It just means that I prefer this kind of game. So I'm not hating on World of Tanks. I'm not discrediting it or saying that you're a fool for playing it, because I've spent a lot of time and money on that title. It's still a great game. It's just that this is the game that I always wanted, and if they continue on this track, then I'm going to want to support it 100%. And you know me, I love armored vehicles. I know a lot about ground warfare. I'm a World War II history buff. You know, I talk to people that have been involved in these things, and my good buddy Phil at No Guts, No Galaxy is even a former Marine. He was a M1 Abrams tanker, and it's nice to talk to him about those things, and I'm sure that he can teach me things that, you know, I don't even know. So there's a lot at play here when we talk about me covering armored vehicles on the channel. It goes deeper than just being a video game. So This game is really important to me, and it's something that I want to cover regularly. Tactical guides, tank reviews, you name it, I'm going to have it at the highest rendered quality, full 1080p and beyond in the future. We're going to do what it takes. We're going to have live streams and events that I'd like to schedule, historical battles and all kinds of things going on that I'd love to include all of the community within. So it's definitely something I'd like you to take a look at. If you're a World of Tanks gamer, when the time is right, give it a shot. It's just another free-to-play game that you'll be able to download and try out. And I think with the fact that I can create better rooms and stuff that I can password protect, I can have a lot more community live streams like I used to with the air combat side of War Thunder. So with all of that said, ladies and gentlemen, definitely stay tuned for a whole lot more War Thunder Ground Forces content. Thank you so much for joining me. I will definitely see you on the next one.